using headings. I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. But I want you to remember to always use the tools that are built into Word to make something. So you're going to hear me say structure, like use the bullet feature and use the numbering feature, because that actually codes the document as a bullet and a number, versus like the old days, maybe we would push just a little star for a bullet, you know. That's not a bullet, that's just a little star, so it's text. And then I want to just talk to you a little bit about text boxes. I mean, I tell you to avoid using them. If you have to use them, you can, but let me tell you why they're a challenge. Microsoft has two levels, the drawing layer and the text layer. Screen readers read the text layer. Text boxes are on the drawing layer. So what will happen is if a document opens up and the blind person begins reading it, they won't read any of the text boxes automatically. They have to do a hotkey if they know the hotkey to visit all the text boxes, and most blind people don't, so they don't get the text boxes. And some may say, well, that doesn't really matter because most of the time text boxes are just pullouts, you know, of content that's already there. So if that's the case, you don't have to really worry about it if you're just repeating something that's already in the document. So next is images. And conceptually, there's three ways to make an image accessible. One is called a text equivalent or alt text. In the room, does anyone know what alt text is? Good. Yeah. Yep, very good. Yep, it's exactly what it is. It's invisible too. It's only seen by the person who's blind. You can't see it on the screen. And then another way is to put a caption, but it's not always appropriate to put captions, you know, so you have to kind of figure out when is it appropriate. But a caption appears below it, so it's both there visually and for the blind person. And another way to make an image accessible is to describe it in text. So if like you have a very complex graph, you can say the graph above shows that 50% of women are men. So you're providing the alt text in the narrative. And then you still need a shorter alt text on the image above, but we'll get into that. So briefly, to click on to do an alt attribute, you simply right-click on the image and choose Format Picture. Now, if you learned to do this with me previously, this looks different now in 2016 than it does in previous. Microsoft loves to move things around and make it difficult for us. Anyway, now it looks like this. You enter you see there's a place for title and there's a place for description. We only put description because that's the only place that the screen reader will look. It's really strange because even if you go to Microsoft's website, they tell you to put both when the screen reader does not read title. So don't waste your time. Some people are really like OCD people and like to put it in both places. It's not going to read it twice if you put it in both places. It's a waste of your time. Just put in description. Here is, oh, look at that lovely photo. I just Googled you and I found that picture. I didn't find your emoji. Do you have one? Oh, yeah. So this is an instance where we would probably pick a caption instead. So I'd right-click on the picture of Dexter and I'd choose caption, and then I just enter the caption here, and that would appear textually below his image. And then the last place is, as I've already described, you can just say it as a narrative. Next, we have to make sure that links are operational. If this document is going to remain electronic document, then you have to make sure it's an actual URL. And Microsoft helped us with that. You know, you could EEOC space and automatically turns it into a link. We probably all know that. But there's another way to add another level of accessibility, especially for somebody with low vision, is by adding a screen tip. And I'll show you how to do it. Okay, quick discussion on tables. Tables was something that somebody said they wanted to know more about. You have two tables up here. The first one is what I call a simple table. Okay, you have one row of headers across the top and one row of headers down the side. That is considered a simple table. That is accessible in Word all by itself. The one below that is what I call a complex table. If there are more than one header cells that's associating with a data cell, that, brace yourself, cannot be made accessible in Word. So you're left with, okay, do I make it a simple table? And it's hard for you to see up there, but because it's kind of a strange color on screen. But if you were to make this accessible, does anybody have an idea how they could make this into a simple table? Yeah, the blue one. Yeah. So take the word AJ decisions appealed and put it into the total, but it would be very wordy then. So then you could also separate them into 3 separate tables. And that's, people don't like that, but that's too bad. If we want our document to be accessible, then we have to make sure if it remains in Word, we can only use simple tables. Now, that said, if you're going to convert to PDF, this table can be made accessible in PDF because they've built a certain layer in PDF. But I will tell you, don't send one to me because it is very hard to make it accessible, very time consuming. So I'll talk to you about the principles of it at the end, okay? But just to give you an idea of what it would take, just this little document, I have to go into every single cell in the document and tell that cell what headers it goes with. So imagine if it was pages and pages, you would be here for a very long time. So the message to take away is simple tables always work best. Okay, next we're going to talk about color and contrast. It's optional, but it's recommended. So thank you for that. We'll go over that when I demo it. Okay. Basically, her question, or whoever's question was, do you have to put a caption at the top of the table, or is it an option? And it's really an option, but it adds a real good layer of accessibility because as a sighted person, we look at the table and we can go, okay, I know what this data is. Blind person has no idea what they're about to interact with. So they can't skim it visually like we can. So a caption would say, you know, the table below is the following information, and that gives them an idea of what they're about to digest. So 2 messages for color and contrast. 1, don't use color alone to convey information, meaning the red paragraph is important. Because if you're blind or colorblind, you won't know which one is red. Or the field offices highlighted in red are, you know, closed today. Well, you won't know that. So you can use color, but also use a different way to determine it. So if the field offices are closed or in red, put the word closed next to it as well. So that way you can use color or text to denote it. And the other thing is, please, people, let's use color contrast. That's good. And we've gotten much better at it. But when colors first came out, boy, people were going nuts with the different colors. I would see like newsletters with yellow background and orange text, and it was going to be really bad. So let's look at this. See the difference? The one on top are effective, and the one on the bottom are not effective in terms of contrast. Red and green might be good for Christmas, but not for contrast. Believe it or not, red, green are the biggest color deficiencies that colorblind people have, and blue, purple too. So, all right, so just keep that in mind. Hopefully legal documents, we're doing black and white most of the time, but you never know. All right, so now I'm going to show you a little demonstration. If you're following along on your own laptop, you can just open a Word document, and I'm going to create a very simple document by using the principles I just discussed and show you how to do it, okay? So this is a heading. And as I said, most people make it a heading, they highlight it, they make it bold, they stick it in the middle or whatever. Now they think it's a heading. As I mentioned, it is not a heading. So we have to create it as a heading. To do that, we apply styles. So up here in your toolbar, you have this little section called styles. If there's a little teeny button in the bottom right-hand corner, and if you pop that out, you would have a list of all the styles. If on your computer you don't see all the styles, you have to come down here to the options menu, and then you'd hit, right now it defaults to recommended styles. And if you list all styles, then all of them that are available will be shown here, okay? Sometimes they're not all shown when you pull down this little guy here. You don't see what you want. So then you would come over to that little one and pull that out. You can use this or you can use that. You'll see that as you update your headings, they update here, but obviously they can't all fit. All right, So to make this a heading, you simply highlight it and then click on heading, which I did. Now it's a heading. Let's say this is a heading also. And to make this a heading, you simply would click on this and then click on heading 2. Now you're saying, Terry, I don't want my styles to be blue. How do you fix that? It's very easy. You can come up here to this heading and you can right click on it. And you have an option there that says modify. If you modify your heading style, in this window, you can do all kinds of things. You can change the name of the heading. You could write Terry's heading or whatever you wanted there. And then you would change the formatting, the color, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and make mine black. I like the 18-point font for heading 1. And then in the bottom here, you see this box that says automatically update. You want to make sure you check that so that all of your headings throughout the document will update. Now, you also see this little button here that says new documents based on this template. Now, this, if you didn't select this radio button, when you closed Word, I think there's a question, my little Skype thing's blinking. Okay. Okay. That's a good question. Let me finish this thought and then I'll address that question. The little radio button that says new documents based on this template, you should select that if you want Word to save the look and feel of your heading you just defined. Otherwise, the next time you open Word, it would be blue again. Okay? So I'm not going to select it this time. So, and then I'm going to also do a heading 3. And I'm going to show you something interesting. I love this feature. So say I wanted my font to look this way. I didn't want the heading 3 to be like how it's defined up here. So I would see if the heading 3 is in here. I would right click on this and then I'd select the first item that I see that says update heading to match selection. And what that means, it's confusing to some people, but it means I've selected it down here. When I select this option, it's going to look and feel the same way it looks right now. And then it automatically updates the heading 3 to be that way. So that's really convenient when you get a document that's got headings, but the author didn't define them as headings, and you can go in and quickly make them all headings. So back to the question. Okay.
For accessibility purposes, should we use every heading to have a different number, or can I just use heading 1 over and over again?
Good question. The question is, can I use more than one heading number, or should I just use heading 1 over and over again? And the answer is, each document should have one heading level 1, and then multiple heading 2s and 3s based on how it indents down the document. So usually I make the title heading 1, and then I make all the subsequent ones heading 2, as long as they're on the same level. Now, if something goes to heading 3, then it's indented from heading 2. Okay, is that clear? Mm-hmm. And the heading levels are really important because I'm blind. I'm reading a document. I hear heading level 1. And I say, okay, this is the start of the document. Then I say heading level 2. Okay. And I understand how it's like laid out. If I heard heading level 1 all the way down, I would be like, there's no structure in this document, you know? So color safe. It's a tough question because it depends on users' vision, to be honest. But dark and light is what I tell you. So background is white. Best is black or dark blue or, you know, a dark purple. Orange, red, green are the problematic colors. So whenever I see a document that has red in it, I always test it for accessibility with color contrast analyzer. You guys don't have access to that, but I can show it to you today, and you can understand concepts of dark. One of the examples we're going to look at has some red text in it that doesn't meet the contrast requirements, and it would be hard for somebody who has color blindness to see that. It would actually probably look brown to them. Okay, so did that answer your question on color? Hear my question? Oh, okay. Okay, so if it's dark brown, it's safe, yes. So let's ask you, I'm going to show you something here. Test color. All right, so say I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to go up here. I'm going to choose, I don't have any good browns. This. That's bad. You can see why that's bad, right? But I have this thing called the color contrast analyzer that I can test with. Let's see. I was going to show it to you right here. So I realized that I left my office without my readers, so I'm having a hard time because I'm too old now to leave without my readers. But here is the color contrast analyzer, and you see that I can take the dropper, I can come down here and select the color. It populates the hex number into here, and then it tests it based on an algorithm for the compliance for color contrast. And you can see that it fails color contrast. And you see the contrast ratio is 2.6 to 1. It needs to be 4.5 to 1 in order for people with limited vision to be able to see it. So you can see it really fails miserably. I don't think there's a plan yet to get color contrast analyzer to all employees, but if you're interested in it, you can request it. And I think they approve it based on need. Okay, great. All right, so we got 3 headings. Is everyone clear on that? We can definitely look at that again, but do you understand the concepts of applying styles to words, make them headings? Okay, great. So next I'm going to hop to images. Okay, so I'm going to insert an image. I happen to have the EEOC logo here. And we are going to put an alt attribute on it. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to choose format picture. Now, I want to tell you something really tricky. Sometimes, based on the kind of image it is, format picture isn't there. Has anybody ever encountered that? It's under size. Why? I don't know why. I mean, I call my friends at Microsoft, I'm like, seriously? What? But yeah, sometimes it's, most time it's under format picture, but sometimes if you go to there's no format picture, go to size, okay? So I click on format picture and then I click on this layout and properties button. It's the 3rd one over on the right. And then I choose this alt text window. And again, here, I don't put it in the title, I put it in the description. Is this a seal or a logo? What would you call it? What would you call it? Not like the animal seal. It's a really bad joke. Or the singer seal. No, that's also a bad joke. Okay, anyway, so what you don't want to put is equal opportunity logo with a picture of a bird with holding twigs in its hands. I mean, that's all too much, right? But I will give you a little quick lesson about why alt text is important when you're trying to convey a message. So say a picture of me and I'm pointing my finger, I look mad, and you just put Terry Youngblood. It's not communicating the message that I'm angry and I'm pointing my finger and I have furrowed brow. So it's an art really to learn. But the message that I give you is think about what information am I trying to convey by this picture, you know? Like if it was a group of people and they were all like cheering and raising their hands and you just put group of people, then some information's missing. But be careful not to go overboard. So, all right, so just what I don't like about this, guys, that I think is weird is, let me just show you this again. I right click on it, I choose format picture, I choose the layout and properties tab, and I enter my description. And then there's no OK button. It feels weird, doesn't it? You just close the window and it saves it. It's one of those 2016 changes they made. We're used to saying save or OK or done or something, but they took that away from us. So don't think it's disappearing, because a lot of people ask me that. And so it used to hover when you hovered your mouse over, it used to pop up. It doesn't do that anymore. So yeah. The other way, if this were a picture of Dexter and you want to put a caption on it, we right click on it and we choose insert caption instead of the alt text. And then here you would just enter your caption here. I didn't spell it right, but you know what I mean. Now, what I don't like is that it says figure 1 by default. You have other things that you can put in there if you wanted to label it picture or something like that. And then as far as the font, I don't know how to set the default font. So if you did not want this in italics, you simply have to unitalicize it that way. Okay. We don't need both, so I'm going to erase this. And then, of course, the last way we talked about is just adding in the narrative. In this case, obviously, it wouldn't make sense. But if it was like an image of a bar chart or something like that, then that's when it would make more sense. Okay, so let's do a link, and I'll show you that lovely hit that nobody knows about, but it's kind of cool. So I'm going to do http://www. Yeah. Go ahead. So somebody's asking, can you make a list of figures by doing the captions?
What is the question?
Oh, okay, I understand. Table of contents. Okay, so is it under preferences? Insert snow? Insert caption? Okay. That's okay. I will do some research and I'll get back to you on that question. Hold on a second while I take a quick note. I don't have a good memory. List of captions. Okay. And who should I send the answer to? Everybody? Okay. All right. So now you see that this is a link. If you right click on the link and then choose, sorry, I'm going to select the link actually. My mouse is not working that great. I dropped it and now it's really weird. Then I'd choose edit hyperlink. And then here is where you can click screen tip and you can type a little tip, visit EEOC's website. And then you say okay, and you say okay again. And then now when you hover your mouse over it, you hear a little message comes up. And that sometimes helps low vision readers or blind readers, it will read it. But so like if I have my document enlarged with say a Zoom Text for Magic and I wanted to see what the link was for, I could hover my mouse over and the message would appear a little larger to give me an idea of where that was going. Okay. All right, next let's talk about data tables. Sure. No, it is not. Thank you for clarifying that. The screen tip is just an added feature. It is not a requirement for 508. But I will tell you that trying to decide whether or not you show the URL or whether you rename it with the words EEOC's website really matters whether you're going to print it or not, right? So if you're going to print it, nobody will know the URL. But we don't do a lot of printing these days. We try to stay electronic, so. Sometimes if they're really long, like really long and make no sense, then that's why people convert them, but you have to think about that. Okay, data tables. Now we're going to add a data table. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to choose the table here. And believe it or not, sometimes people create data tables with the tab key. They enter tab, and then it obviously is not a data table. So I'm going to use name. Oops, not with brown text, I'm not. So I'm going to select the data. I'm just going to make it black. Okay, name, age, gender, favorite color. This is my fancy data table. So I am Terry. I'm 21. I'm a female. Oops, I messed that up. Sorry. Be female. Actually, I wouldn't want to be 21 again. No. Okay. So the reason data tables can be problematic if they have more than one header row is that as a sighted person, you look at the data cell, you visually see what's associated with it, and that's how you deduce the data. But as a person who's blind or visually impaired using a screen reader, the header row has to be defined. And if there was more than one header row, the screen reader is not really smart enough yet to say this goes with this. They only can associate one. So right now, this is accessible as is, but let me show you a little trick. If you highlight the header row and you right click on it and you choose table properties, and then you choose the row tab, what we found out through, I don't know, trial and error is if you click repeat as header row on the top of each page, when you convert this to a PDF, the table's header cells are automatically going to be marked up as a header cell. It's kind of a little way around it. So if you know it's going to live in Word, you don't really need to do that step. But if you know it's going to go to PDF, then you should. Either you do it now or you do it when it's a PDF. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to do it either way. Now, let me show you something else. Alt text. Don't waste your time putting alt text on a table. Screen readers don't read it. It was the intention of Microsoft to add alt text to a table, but none of the screen readers on the market have yet added that functionality, so it's fine. And that's frustrating for me. You would think everybody was in the same meeting that day, but they attend different meetings sometimes. Okay, so we have headings, we have images, we have a link, we have tables. So I'm going to show you what happens when I convert this to PDF. So I've done all the work already to make this accessible. So now I'm going to choose File. You can do Save as PDF, Save As, and then choose PDF. What I don't want you to do is print to PDF, because printing to PDF does not automatically add accessibility tags. Let me just take a minute and talk about tags. So Microsoft and Adobe got together finally and said, okay, when I do the work in Word and I convert to PDF, the accessibility tags are automatically going to be added. For years, that wasn't that way. We had to go and add them after the fact. So it was 2 steps, and it was frustrating. But now, if you save as PDF or convert to PDF, the tags will automatically be added, unless you print to PDF. If you print to PDF, there will be no tags. Okay? So I do File, I do Save As, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop. Oh, let's see. As a PDF. Actually, I have a Dexter folder. There we go. This is, I'm going to call it testing. Oh, not resting. I'm not resting. I'm testing. Okay. And then I say save, and I'm going to show you what happens. So now this document is a PDF. Okay. Everything that we've done in Word has transformed into PDF, and I'm going to show you. And the left-hand side, by the way, this is Adobe Acrobat Pro. This will not work if you have Standard or Reader, only if you have Pro. Okay? You see on the left-hand side, I have this little thing that looks like a tag you would put on a gift. If you don't have it there, you right-click on this black space, and you choose tags from the menu here. So I'm going to click on it, and I see these are my accessibility tags. These are because I did the work in Word. They're all present and they're all good. So let's do what I call walk the tag tree. I have this H1, and see it highlights the H1 on the right. Why is it a H1? Heading 1, yeah. And then I have an empty space, and it's a P tag. What do you think P stands for? Right. And I have an H2, and I have another P tag. By the way, empty P tags are fine. It's just a space. But if you open it up, you'll see there's nothing there, right? So if you open up the H tag, you will see your heading. Okay, I'm doing this with my number, with my arrow keys. So I tab through and I have my H3. Then I have an empty space. Then I have my figure tag. Figure is an image. That's the word they use for image. So if I right-clicked on my image and I said, show me the properties, that's what I have there, my alt text. See? And the second thing I want to show you is the table tag. So once I close this P tag is just a wrap around my link. So you see I have my link in there as well. And then I open a table, and I have a T head and a T body. And if I open the T head, you have a TR. What does TR stand for? Table row. Yep, table row. And then you open up the TR and you have a TH. What does TH stand for? Table heading. And the reason this is a table heading is because I highlighted it and said, repeat this header row at the top of each page. If this wasn't a header, you would have to make it a header by coming in here and editing the tags yourself. So it's much easier to do in a Word because these tags are scary to some people. And what I will say to you is these tags, there's no undo button. So if you start messing around and you mess up something, it's gone. The only way to not get it back is to close the document and don't save it. You know, we've been saying to Adobe, why is there no undo button? Because when you're in the figure tags, they've given me this cockamamie reason, but yeah, there's no undo button. So if you mess up something, yeah.
You're trying to re-tag it, or you're trying to add tags, but you make a mistake, you can't go back.
You have to know how to fix it. You know what I mean? Like if I accidentally delete this TH, I would have to know how to put it back. And I know because I'm at advanced level, but you know, most people wouldn't know. But this is how easy it is. So pretend this was a TD. I'll just show you in this one. This will be a T, this is a TH. To make it into a TH, I would just double click and then I just simply delete the D and make it an H. This is how simple it is. It's very simple. All right, that's enough for now with PDF. We'll come back and talk about that in a little bit. Table data cell. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions on the content I've covered so far. Absolutely, inline text. Thank you for mentioning that. I forgot to mention it. When the image is in line with text, the screen reader will read it. If it's you know, around something or one of the other options. If it's tight or through, the screen reader might miss it. Okay. Any other questions?
So before you said you have your title, you have one. You don't use title? Because sometimes I use the title as file.
You can. There's no hard, fast rule against it. Sure, you can. The screen reader doesn't announce title. It only announces headings. So don't use any of the other stuff in the headings in this list here, because the only thing that it reads is headings. So if you made it a title, it wouldn't say title. The screen reader wouldn't say, it would just read the words. But it doesn't matter really, because either way is correct, you know? It makes more sense to call it a title, doesn't it? Yeah, it was there to use it. But yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, you are allowed to do alternative accessible ways. And I've seen a lot of people do that for images that are like bar charts and stuff like that. They add a data table with the equivalent information. And you usually would put a link below it that can click to get to the appendix just so it's easy. So that you can also do that for, you can say link to simple table. Both are good. That's a really good solution. You brought that up. Okay. I'm going to save this, and now I'm going to go to some of the sample documents that I was given, and we're going to look at them together, and we're going to talk about what we have to do. Okay. Word's choking. There we go. All right, sample one. If you have these, you're welcome to open them yourself if you want to take a look, or you can just follow me. Okay, so do you want to make this a trusted document? No. Okay, so one thing I will tell you is, if you took a class from me previously, oh, it's terrible. No, I'm kidding. I'm just teasing. No, I'm just teasing. So if you took my class a couple years ago, or I would have told you, headers inserted into the header are not accessible, okay? And because it's on the drawing layer of the document. So when a screen reader comes in, it doesn't read the header. It just starts reading the text. But fast forward to 2018, screen readers have figured that out and said, okay, I'm going to announce that there's a header. But when I open this document, JAWS says, there's one header in this document. And then if I press help, it'll tell me what the header is. Okay, so previously I was telling people, don't use the header, just put it at the top of the page. Nobody liked that because, you know, they don't want it to shift, and I get that. But now we're at a point where the screen reader's caught up with technology. But it will not read automatically, and if the screen reader user doesn't take the step of going bump, bump, it won't know the header's there. So sometimes I tell people, if it's really important that they have access to the header information, duplicate it at the bottom or something like that so that they have the address, you know. So let's, and if you double click on it, you can see whether or not there's alt text here, and there isn't. But I'm adding it just because I want to add it, but to tell you the truth, the screen reader won't read it. It only reads the text that's in the header. So if this weren't in the header, you absolutely would have to add alt attribute to it. But because it's in the header, I mean, it's best practice to add it to all images, but really the screen reader doesn't read the EEOC logo. I can show you what happens. I'm going to start JAWS. Oops. I don't think you're going to be able to hear it through Skype. Can you? Here it has one page header. So I would press insert F1. Sorry, let me get that back up again. I hit the shut up key so it wouldn't read the whole thing to us. As you can see here, it has first page header there. So if I don't come in and take that step, I'll never really be able to read the header unless I knew what the header key was, open up the header and go in and read it. So it's a little touchy subject, but we are going to go ahead and proceed with headers as normal, okay? Is this helpful? Have you guys heard of a screen reader before, or is this the first time you're hearing one? You've heard them first time? So now, do you want to see how the blind person really listens to it? They definitely don't listen to that speed. Well, let's have to listen to it. This fast. Absolutely. Yeah, that's how fast a person who's blind would listen to it. But, you know, you get good over time. I can understand it.
Okay.
20 years of doing this, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, you couldn't? Yeah,
See my document working?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's such a waste. Nobody uses that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so we talked about the header. Now, how would you figure out whether that letter of determination had styles applied? What do you think you'd have to do? You would well, you put your cursor on it and then look at the style and what do you see is highlighted? Normal. Normal is just default text. Would turn to a P tag in PDF. So we want to make this into a heading 1. Actually, should this be heading 1? Let me see what else is in here. Yeah. So this can be a heading 1 because if you look, the next heading is more like a heading 2. Okay. So what I would do is I would highlight this, and then I would use that feature I told you about. I would go to heading 1 and I'd right click on it and I'd choose update heading to match selection. And that way I didn't have to go in and modify the look and feel of the heading to match it. I'm automatically telling it to do that. Does that make sense? I right click, update heading to match selection, and voila. Heading 1 is done. Oh, I did heading 2? No, I did heading 1. Okay. So then I scroll down. Plain text, you never need to do anything to. So then I would find heading 2, and I, sure. He wants to know about the acronym, and you should always define an acronym in a document. You should always, yeah. But they're used to things like, hearing acronyms, like homepage is pronounced homopage because it's one word, homopage. I think they just get used to them, Yeah, but yeah, it says EOC. Isn't that funny? Okay, then you so for number 2, I would right click on heading 2, and notice you don't see a heading 2, right? What did I tell you to do for that? Yeah, go to this little drop down, and then I go to my heading 2, which if I don't see it, then I've got to go down here, and I'm going to say all styles. Okay? So then I'm going to come over to heading 2, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say update heading 2 to match selection. So I can do it here, or I can do it up there. It doesn't matter. Some people like you doing it here. I personally could do it both ways. So I've just made it heading 2. Now, your question is going to be, can you do them all at once? And the answer is yes, but it takes a lot of skill. It really does. So I'll show you how to do it. What you do is you see, there's a difference between going like this and then coming out here and going bing once. See? When you turn your cursor to a arrow pointing the other way, if you just click it once, it highlights it. Okay. So then I scroll down to the next one. Oh, there isn't another one. Let's pretend this is it. And then I would hold the control key down on my keyboard, and I would select this one, pretending this is a heading. This is not a heading, obviously. Okay. So then now I'm not touching the control key anymore. And if I scroll back up, I'll see it's still highlighted, okay? Now, if I didn't let go of the control key, it's going to zoom. And so everybody's always goes, what happened? I just zoomed, So then you would just come up here to heading 2 and select heading 2, okay? So it takes a little skill because you have to highlight it, scroll down, hold the control key, highlight the next one, let go of the control key, scroll down, you know what I mean? So it does take a little practice. So I'm going to undo that last one because that's not really a heading. Twos, because they're on the same level. Now, if they indented one more underneath, that would be heading 3. Yeah. Okay, so then we have this image, and then, interesting, how did you add this? Here's a great example. Where's format picture? It's not there. So I told you to go under size. It's not there, so I would go under picture. How frustrating is that? And then this looks different too. It's a different screen than the other one. So they haven't implemented the look and feel the same across the application yet. So maybe that's why. Sure. Yeah, that's probably why things are a little wonky. It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't really matter for accessibility, but the dot X is the newest for. That's it. Now, some people just put signature. I always put the signature and the name, but it is duplicative because it'll say signature Dexter Brooks, and then below it says Dexter Brooks. You know, so it's kind of duplicative. But I just have always been in that habit. Okay, and then here, this is also a heading 2. Emails are fine. Okay, everything else is great. Yeah, it's just text. It will say dash, 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 dash for that line, but they know what that is. People who are blind know what that is, okay? So what is the purpose of having the line below the name? Just a signature line, I see, okay. So it'll say Dexter Brooks, signature, dash, 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 dash. All right, good. So now we're clear on that, right? Everybody up to speed on those? Okay. Oh, you don't? Okay, that's good. All right, next one, sample 2. And I can promise you we're not going to need a whole nother hour to get through these. So you're going to have some of your time back today. Okay, what do you see here? See a header? You know how to add alt text, but you know, there's no reason to add it in the header because it's not red. So does this have style? No. Okay, so we're going to highlight it. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to highlight it again. But one wrong move and they all get deleted. So you got to be really careful when you're doing it this way. Okay, and it's a long document, so I'm not going to do all 27 pages of these. But I simply, let's see, are we going to call these heading 2s? Is there a heading 1? So in this case, it's kind of interesting. I would make them heading 2s, and then I would probably change the introduction to a heading 1. Even though they're on the same level, it just makes sense to the screen reader. You can't come in with heading 2s because then they're like, where's the heading 1? So, so I would make it into heading 2s. And this is another example. See, so whatever appears in the styles, just so you guys know, are the styles that are used in that document. That's why, like document to document, the styles get a little messy. So I come here. And see it, these are weird styles. So then I choose all styles. And then I'm going to go to my headings. Right click, update heading to match selection. And then it made them all styles. And then just because I always told you, you know, each document should have one heading 1, I'd probably make this a heading 1. Just so it made sense. Even though they're on the same level. Are you okay with that? All right, so let me look through here. So I want to make sure, you see when I put my cursor on it, up in the toolbar, the number was depressed. Depressed, that's not right word, pressed. Not depressed, pressed. Anyway, that told me that the author used the number feature, and that's good. Let me tell you why. When you convert it to PDF, if it's actually numbers, it's going to convert as a list. And then a screen reader will announce the number that's in the list when you get to the list, and that's useful. You know, you can see how many items are in there, but if you're blind, you can't. This one I might call heading 3. I'd have to really analyze the document. Yeah, I would call them heading 3s. Okay. Footnotes automatically accessible if you use the footnote insertion tool, but you don't need to do anything for that. I'm scrolling through, I see bullets, and I see that the bullet feature was used. That's good. I'm just going through page by page for those. And then I come to this red text and I say, oh gosh, that may or may not meet the contrast requirements. Since you guys don't have access to the tool, I would just recommend making it darker. Do you have any idea why it's red in the first place? No? Style, yeah. If it, so, I mean, red is a hard color to see if you have some color blindness issues. So if you really wanted to be a different color, I might just choose a better color. Or if you had to have it red, I'd just choose a darker red. I'd probably choose the darkest red I could get. That's not dark. That's brown. There we go. So it's a little darker, see? Now, let's talk about this. This is a table, but it's really a layout table. The difference between a data table and a layout table are screen readers are going to read left, right, left, right, left, right. So it's going to read in the actual order it's designed to be read in, okay? So we don't have to make this a header row unless you know it's going to become PDF. And then you have to do it in PDF because I don't think you have the ability to do the column repeat as header, repeat as column. I think it only works with row, okay? So when you converted this to PDF, you'd have to go in and make this the header row because you would get an error if you ran the accessibility checker in PDF because it sees a table, but it doesn't see any header information. And sometimes that's called a false positive. So if it's a layout table and it's reading just fine with JAWS, I don't necessarily have to mark it up as a header row. Is there a question, Dexter? Okay. So at this point, I would do nothing to this table because it's going to read just fine because screen readers go left to right, top to bottom. Okay. Keep scrolling, looking through here. Okay, then we come to this lovely image, which I have no idea how to put alt text on it. If you look at it, it says on the axis, it says low, medium, high, and low, medium, high. And one says, I don't even know what that word says. So this says OFO Executive Committee screens the initial list of project opportunities. The committee can score each project as high, low, medium for benefit, effort, and plot the results. So in your opinion, do you think that the words above described the diagram effectively enough? No. So in order to add the alt text for this diagram, you have to right click and choose alt text. But I mean, the author would probably have more knowledge about what this is than I do, but I wouldn't have the first idea on how to put the alt text on this. But it would have to be detailed enough that if this so let me just think this through. If this was just an image to show what a plot diagram looked like, and if it's just to show, then you don't need that detailed stuff. If you're showing the data for something that's a result of, then you would need more information. Is that clear? Yeah. So, I mean, but if it were, it would have to be something like the low area, and I don't have my reading glasses, so I can't see the numbers, but the low area has following numbers. The high area has the following number. That's how I would probably try to dissect it.
So this is like 18 different projects in the next 5 minutes.
All right.
Each one. That'd be hard to describe.
It would be. Yep. So any thoughts? Any other additional comments? I mean, I don't think you can put 10 paragraphs, but I don't know. It's not a small character limit. But even the sighted person doesn't know that. So don't give more than the sighted person knows. You know, that's good. Yeah. So, okay. Here is a table, but what kind of table is this again? The layout table. It's not a data table. It would read it. Business impact, why do we do this? What's happening? And then it would probably go to this one, and then this one, and then it would go up here to this one. You know, and 100%, I am not positive. So let me test. They can't? Oh. So should I not do this? It's not coming through the internet. Yeah. So I won't bother, but I'm pretty sure it's going to read it top to bottom. All right. Otherwise, these inserted documents are fine. You can, people that use the keyboard can navigate to them, open them up. But what you need to make sure when you embed a document within a document is the one you embedded accessible as well. And I didn't even look at these. Okay, so you'll have a little Excel lesson 101. Let me look at them. I may not have access to them because you. Oh, I do. Okay. This is Excel. Yeah, so this would read just fine. You apply the same principles when you're creating a spreadsheet. If you have one row of headers and data cells, it's going to be much more accessible than if you have a lot of different cells. That becomes really problematic in Excel. But there are tools built into the screen readers to help people who are blind navigate data cells. And normally, if you're a person who's blind that does data for a living, you really become quite savvy at navigating through. Okay. Otherwise, I think that's the rest of the things that we need to think about in this document. And unfortunately, it is scrolling up and down to make sure that there's nothing additional that we've done. All right. And then I'll just take a look at the last one that you gave me. Oh, what is this? Oh my God! So it comes from her team. Okay, so I would tell you to get rid of this little thing, whatever it is. It's not even an image. It's a PDF image. How do you even insert that? It's not even a picture. Watch this. I double click on it. It opens in PDF. It is really odd. I've never seen it before. I know, but it doesn't. It doesn't matter. But I can't add alt text to it. Actually, I can. I lied. I can. Okay, I was just confused before. But would you put swoosh? Is that what you'd put? You wouldn't need to.
Morgan, what did you mean by this?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. It's really pretty. I mean, but it does not impact accessibility. You know, you can leave it. It's totally fine. I was just teasing. I'm like, how did they get a PDF inserted into there, like an image? Anyway, so we would check to see whether the EEOC logo had an alt text. Okay, so we come here, we choose alt text, and look what it has. the file name where the image came from. That's often what happens if you don't have it. So the screen reader would read that. We don't want it to read that. Okay. And then you would, so here's something I want to talk about. When you have a PDF, you are able to tell the PDF document, this is just a decorative image. There's no way to do that in Word. So when you run the accessibility checker, if you haven't put an alt attribute, you're going to get an error. So I would add something to this. Whoops, not comment. Didn't mean that. I would add something to this just so I didn't get an error. And I would just probably decorative image. Okay. So, oops, I messed up the document somehow. I went on to the second pages, but anyway, so I see that there's a table of contents, so that tells me I'm pretty sure that somebody used styles, but let me just confirm. Here's a list of tables. Remember somebody was asking for a list of figures? It's a list of tables, so that's great. So I put my cursor on it, and the person used styles. Yay! So, and it looks really nice. This report looks really nice. I like the look and feel. And it uses blue, but it uses a pretty dark blue. Okay, and so this is all text and styles, so far so good. Now here's a heading 3, and did the person use a heading 3? Yes, they did. Yep. So great. The author gets a kudos from Terry. Oh, good. Are you recording it? Okay, good. All right, so this is one row of headers. So this one's fine. This one is one row of headers, so this one's fine. You notice that they insert the table description at the top, like we talked about initially. And to do that, you'd select the table. Sorry, my mouse is acting funny. And then you say insert caption. And then you can tell whether you want it above or below. You always want it above, because why would you want it below? It doesn't make sense. Well, to me, you always want it above for accessibility. So this is accessible as it is. And just so you know, when the screen reader is turned on, you would hear, and I used my special table reading keys, you would hear variable compliant female. Then I would move to this cell and I would hear N 273, mean 13.32, STDev 42 point. So that would be, that's how screen readers navigate data tables. But there is a special hotkey that you use. Okay, so let's look at this. This table is not accessible because there are multiple header cells associated with the data cell. There's no way to make this accessible the way it is in Word. So you'd have to redesign it to make it accessible, unless you converted this to PDF and it lived permanently in a PDF file. Then you could make it accessible. So how would you construct this? How would you make this more accessible? Yeah. Right. It'll just be a little wordy. Yeah. 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 Okay. Table also is not accessible. The header cells would not be read because of the fact that there's female complainants, female LGBT, male. See, those headers that span multiple rows throws off the screen reader, so it would no longer read the header cell of N, total, and mean because you have this big header cell. So I would probably fix it by Yeah.
in that little column.
Yeah.
Instead of male components on the top, put it to the top.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's one way. And the other way, which nobody's want to do, is split them all up. Nobody wants 20 little tables behind, but that is a really good idea. I didn't come up with that. Yep. Because if you made it a merge cell, it would not read it. It only reads them once. Yeah, it does read them. But it wouldn't read them with both data components. Sometimes, I will admit, accessibility with tables is like, because tables can be designed for sighted people and they want to look pretty, but in fact, if they're not accessible, then we can't use them. Okay? This table is accessible. So is this one. You understand, right? It's very clear. Okay. This is a really nice looking document. You just need to fix the tables. Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about, let me see. Let's talk. I'm gonna jump on the web real quick and get a sample table that I can show you. What it takes in PDF. This is a organization called WebAIM. It's a really well-known accessibility resource for technical. Okay. This one is I want to take this one and paste it into Word. Whoops. My mouse is acting really weird. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make this accessible in PDF. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to talk about concepts, okay? Okay, I'm going to save this to my desktop. Okay. So actually, yeah, this is a very, very complex issue to be teaching you right off the bat. So I'm not really teaching. I'm just talking about concepts here, okay? So we don't have the touch-up reading order tool. So this touch-up reading order tool is a way to make a PDF accessible. I'm not going to teach you how to use it today. That's for next class. But in here, when you select the table, you click on something called the table editor, and you have to come into each one of these cells, and you have to name it a header cell, and then you have to give it an ID. So I would give it an ID of name, and then I would give this one a name of age, and then birthday, etc. And then when I came here, I would give this one, I would choose which header cell was associated with it. So my list would be here, and I'd say name goes with this one, and by birth goes with this one. So this one would have to be Shelley's daughter, age, and by birth. Shelley's daughter, birthday, so that's literally what you have to do to make a complex table accessible. And look how small this is, and I would take like 20 minutes to do this little thing. So I tell people, please don't do complex tables unless you absolutely have to. You can see why, right? Okay, questions? Not online, okay. So I have kind of come to the end of the content. Yeah, question here.
For PowerPoint,
Mm-hmm.
what background color are you using? text is important.
Mhm.
If I use the blue one that a little shading on it is black ink,
Mhm.
is that acceptable? Or
If it meets the color contrast
We don't want you to
requirements.
repeat that question.
Okay, the question was, in PowerPoint, if I use a blue background and a light shaded blue background in black text, is that okay? And it really matters on the contrast. You know, if it's a dark blue, no. If it's a really light blue, yes. And unfortunately, you don't have the tools to be testing for compliance, so you just have to really do your best to guess. Unless you, well, that's the thing. I was just thinking. I know, I know that. Right. I don't. I know that WebAIM has one. But you need to know the hex numbers, and in PowerPoint you're not going to know them. You know what I mean? So if you had the hex number and you could paste it in here, it would tell you whether it passed or failed. I'm not aware of one that I don't know how to get the hex number in a color in PowerPoint. Oh, okay. So she's saying that on the web there might be tools that allow you to grab the hex from the color itself, and then you could paste it into this contrast checker.
Do those numbers translate from from like Word to?
Yeah, if it's the same color.
So you could just say that to get that.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. I've never played with the tool on the web that grabs the color other than the color contrast analyzer that I have. Okay. Okay, if she can find one, then I'll send it around so you guys have access to it.
So all the things we learned in Word apply to PowerPoint.
I was just going to go there. Thank you. So his question was, do all the things we just learned apply to PowerPoint? Yes and no. Yes, in that if you have images, you add alt text the same way. Colors the same, tables are the same. You really want simple tables only in PDF, in PowerPoint. The one thing that's not the same is the reading order. And this is very important. Let's see. Okay, right here. Under Arrange, you have something at the bottom called Selection Pane. Oops. And this is the order that the screen reader is going to read it in. But what do you notice? It's out of order. It's out of order. So you have to move it here in the reading pane. It's a real big PIA, if you know my acronym. So you go like this, boom, boom. And then by placeholder, that's going to be last. That just has a number in it. So that's how you control the reading order in PowerPoint. You know, Dexter's making a face. Like, it's on the Home tab under Arrange, Selection Pane. And you have to do this on every slide. The idea is, though, if you create the document using the templates in Word, templates in PowerPoint, which are these templates. So if I did File, New, and I used one of these templates, then it's going to be laid out in a way that's good. So let's talk about color contrast. I only see some. This is probably not the best color. This blue and white is probably not the best option. I lost my color contrast analyzer. There we go. You see it's made in. You see how colors spelled? It's made in the UK. So the foreground color is white, and the background color is blue, and I'm guessing it's going to fail based on my experience. Yeah, failed. It's too light. It would be difficult to see the person with low vision. Okay, so PowerPoints, let's go look at my slides. Yeah.
The contract program is just a software program.
Yeah.
So you can like procure one.
Oh, it's free. It's free. No, I said you could put a request in for it. It is free though. There's no cost. Yeah, I think you should request it. Yeah, you don't need to do it in black and white. Look at mine. Mine is pretty. And mine's not black and white. But let me look through them one by one. So here, on this slide, you would need alt text on the image, and you need to check the reading order. Otherwise, if you just have bullets and titles, it's accessible. It's when you start pasting pictures and pasting things in, it becomes difficult. You're kidding. Bottom to top, that makes no sense. I've been doing this. No, I've been doing this for a long time. And okay, let's look. Yeah, yeah. They must have just changed that if that's the case, because that for years has been this way. Oh. All right, so let's test with JAWS. Well, JAWS is going to be hard because yeah, I know I'm trying to figure out. Convert. Okay, so let's look where they are. So it's reading. If you're right, I'm going to be so crazy. Oh, that's so crazy. I'm very concerned because they must have just switched this. Either that or JAWS is doing something to read it differently. All right, I'm going to take this to my friends at Microsoft. Okay, I'm going to take a note. I have a direct line to the Microsoft accessibility team, and I'll call them and clarify that for you. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. Mm-mm. But don't worry, I'll clarify that, and you guys will all have the answer by the end of today. Okay, any other questions?
One question, can we use animation?
Animations are discouraged, but for many reasons, but mainly because people with attention deficit disorder have a hard time concentrating when things are moving. It doesn't make it inaccessible. It doesn't fail 508, but it's a best practice that we try to avoid. Videos have to have alt text and they have to have captions. So when you insert a video, you have to make sure, well, if you insert it into PowerPoint, you have to add captions to it. But if you put it on the web or if you insert it to YouTube, you have to use captions. Now, YouTube has this great feature that automatically captions the video, and that's great, but you have to check the captions to make sure they're accurate, because so many times they're not, and people don't know that. But you can fix them. It's very easy to fix them as well. But Harvard University had a lawsuit because they didn't fix them, and all of the captions were wrong for some of their very technical engineering courses, and people who were deaf didn't have access to it. So.
It's messed up words. We had some caption at one time, 80-hour video. They were trying to say this guy's alone. He's isolating himself, but it's spelled like he loans money.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's very funny. Okay, so I'm going to call it a day and give you back a half an hour of your time. Yes, thank you, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, and images with alt attributes, yeah. Some people create the headings as they go, and some people write the document and then go back and add styles later. It doesn't matter whichever way you're more comfortable. No. I don't normally show that, but I will. But I don't use it, and it's so flawed, and it has so many mistakes that I'll show it to you. But I will tell you that it's not fail-proof. No. Okay, so here under File, under File, you have Check for Issues, and then you have Check Accessibility. It checks the web, oh, look, unable to run the checker. It might be because it's an old document style. Let me open another one. It goes through algorithms that Microsoft set up, and sometimes it gives you things that are false positives and tells you to do things that are unnecessary. And sometimes it doesn't catch things. Okay, so over here, it has missing alternative text, and it tells you the picture is missing alternative text. The object is missing alternative text. Then it tells you this data table. What is wrong with the data table? They're telling you to put alt text on the data table. That's useless. You know, so if you followed all this instructions, you'd be putting a lot of work in. It was unnecessary. Alt text is not read. Same with this table. This table, alt text. Yeah, and then it goes into warnings. These are things that it's not sure. Merged or split cells in the table. It's warning you that the table is complex and may not be accessible. And then headings are too long. I'm sorry, that's not an accessibility issue. That has nothing to do with accessibility. I mean, short, concise headings are best practice, but it doesn't make a document inaccessible if it has a long heading. And it does tell you this picture's not in line with text, but screen reader would still pick it up. But it is best practice to have in line with text. Repeated blank characters, again, that's not necessarily a 508 failure. So this is why I don't like to use it, because it comes up with things that doesn't align with Section 508 rules that they've built. You know what I mean? Which I wish it did, but it doesn't. So, but it's okay to do it. Just understand that sometimes the findings may not be like hardcore, you know.
So run the accessibility code, and if it fails, for whatever reason, longer headings, still cut it back.
To you? Well, well, that's a shame, because that's not a 508 compliance issue. It's not. It's a best practice. So we need to beat up on Microsoft. Fix your checker. That was good though. Great request. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Oh, that's yours, Dexter. Who is that? Your face? I can't. I don't have my glasses on. It's all blurry. That's your emoji.